Hi there, in this video we're going to see if PowerPoint is better than InDesign by first using PowerPoint as a way of matching InDesign's layout capabilities, but then we're going to see if we can take that a step further by utilising PowerPoint animation functionality. Different options to do with blurring images like that and different kind of layout and all that sort of stuff to take it a step further. And then we're going to finish the lesson off by demonstrating how to bring your SketchUp models into PowerPoint for the most impressive presentations. First part of this video wants to just demonstrate some basic comparisons to InDesign. Now, as architects, we're taught that InDesign is the cool tool to use, and PowerPoint is the tacky one, if you like. And I've actually rediscovered PowerPoint a little bit. I've been using it for pictures more than anything, new project pictures and what have you. It just makes it a bit more visually interesting, a little bit easier for other people to sit through. So the first part of this video is just a quick comparison to some of the earlier slides in this document. Now, what I do want to do is actually want to just go for a black background, and you can create all these different types of presets. And this is where actually where I think PowerPoint gets a bit of a bad reputation, because these are awful. There's no two ways about it, right? But I actually just want to set a black theme. That's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything too snazzy. And we want to open with our first slide. And straight away, one great thing about using PowerPoint is the fact that it's got an inbuilt spell checker on the go, whereas in InDesign you need to kind of go edit spelling, check spelling. So a little tick for PowerPoint. And then just things like snaps. I know InDesign has good snaps as well, but the snapping tools in PowerPoint are absolutely excellent, and it's got a lot of options for alignment. It's quite intuitive. I think we've all used a Microsoft, like a Microsoft Word or Excel, so there's just that little bit of natural understanding as well. I think I like the fact that it previews the text size as well, whereas if I hover over different text sizes in InDesign, it doesn't give me that option. So I do like that. It's quite interactive as well. So that's a very 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 basic one. If we then move into the next slide, I want to demonstrate how we can do this gradient effect. Now, actually, we didn't do this in InDesign. We actually created it in Photoshop. But in InDesign, it's very simple. No, we don't want any of those suggestions. I hate that. Stop suggesting ideas. There we go. Now, I do want to add a little bit of transparency to this image. So a top little tip straight away is to just have this little pop out here. So we've got this side pane. And then we want to just add a tiny bit of transparency there. Then you want to drop a shape. We're right to left. Insert shape. Let's go almost all the way. And again, when you drop things in like that, you do go, ooh, hold on. But then what we do is you change it to a gradient fill. We want it to be the other way around. And again, I'm no expert, by the way. This is just, as I say, it's just so intuitive. So the right hand one wants to be black, The left hand one, still black, but fully, oh, that wasn't black. And then fully transparent like that. And then we want to turn the border off, no line. And then there we go. How good's that? Then we want to copy this text. This is obviously just an example project. Insert text box. I think that must be capitalized then within InDesign, so we'll just leave it as it is. If anything, I'll take the caps out of that. We're getting a little bit of funky stuff going on. I think that's because I've dragged it in, so let me just do it again properly. The purpose here is that we would be, I suppose what I'm suggesting is you can use PowerPoint as an alternative to InDesign, so you wouldn't have the InDesign example. So I've just started that again, just so it's a bit more predictable rather than dragging it in. There we are, it's better. There's nothing stopping us grabbing that middle row and changing the colour of that. And then we could even, these lines are very simple to do as well, where we can just simply draw shapes, rotate, and see where it's just centered behind the text, no line, white, and then a bit of transparency. You can copy and paste, or you can actually hold Control and just drag that across as well. I think that is absolutely fantastic. I actually didn't think I'd ever be back in back in PowerPoint doing something along the lines of that. It's not exactly the same. Obviously, you could accentuate that gradient a bit more, so it's the other way. Ooh. What I was going to suggest was you could just add a black box at the end there, but suppose you can just drag that over as well. And see, that just darkens the one side off. Let's then add one more slide, and then to just use quite a simple example, that is for our planning reports, that is about as complicated as it gets, really. So you've got text to the side, image there, and it is that simple. If I just add a little text box, I would suggest you add the title within the same text box. It makes life a little easier when we get to animations. So we're getting this weird kick at the bottom of text. I'm not entirely sure what that is. But you get the idea. There's absolutely nothing stopping you creating simple layouts like that. That might want to maybe move there. Oh, don't want to stretch it. Never stretch an image. So it might just be a case of just cropping it. Snap that to middle. And again, as I say, I'm just going through some very, very basic stuff. Things like this diagram here, we would, well, in Photoshop, we actually create the gradient anyway. So we would have that as a gradient and then drop the text over it. But as another example, we could even do something like this. Similar to this gradient here, let's just go through that process again. Insert, shape. You'd be amazed how quickly you pick this up, because the tools are just quite familiar, really. They just seem quite familiar from way back when. Let's go gradient again. So we want to invert. Suppose I could just rotate that. And see the way that's just adding a bit of something there. So we could go that far with it. Maybe just add a tiny bit of transparency. And then let's just say we had that diagram in the background. You can obviously do the same sort of thing with a white backdrop and a white gradient. That text obviously far too big. Opportunities. If I spelled that with a Z, for some reason the auto spell check wasn't turned on. To turn it on, you just go review, spelling, and then it's on. The only frustrating thing is here it's defaulting to American, so it's asking for a Z there. But if I just do that, there we go. That's what I was trying to demonstrate, that it's now correcting a spelling error as I'm typing, which to my knowledge InDesign doesn't do. You have to review the spelling at the end. I'm sure the main language settings are somewhere else. Oh yeah, there we go. English UK, US, English UK, and then there we go. You know, proper spell check that we're all used to seeing. So there's another nice use of a gradient there, which again is something that we implement in InDesign. So I don't really think there's much else then in the entirety of this document. Just to those very simple demonstrations that PowerPoint couldn't do. The second part of the video is to just remind you might already be aware, but just to remind you of, or showcase, some of the brilliant animations and just how to tweak them a little bit. So at the start of the presentation, forgive the beeping in the background, sorry. At the start of the presentation, isn't that just nice just to have your logo fade in like that? You can also do that with objects. I wouldn't go mad with some of the other ones. We will maybe just demonstrate some of them. Not that one. Let's see what the fade of those. So they're interesting. Again, don't literally copy. Sorry, just send that one forward. Don't literally copy what I'm doing. I'm just showcasing what you can do, and you can remove the animation. There we go, and just set it back to none. You can do that up there as well. That should just get rid of that. There we go. On this one, we could do fly in, and then you've got these effect options here. So we could do fly in from the left, and then you could change the duration. It's also nice to just bring these effect options out, just using that little arrow there. Direction from the left, that's spot on, but you might want to just smooth the end off a little bit. You might want to increase the duration to 1 second. Let's just hit preview there. There we go. So that's a little bit nicer. That one could fade in. I think fade is the most subtle, and that's fine. That's harmless. I wouldn't say it's borderline cheesy, but it's not too bad. So there's a few little animations as well. You can also add. So if I just turn that animation off there, there are also these other ones that are quite interesting, like grow and shrink. That's quite good when. If we go back to, so let's just knock that off. If we go back here, let me just turn that. Just move that so I can just access it. Let's then just reduce the size, smooth the end, maybe even just smooth the start a touch. It kind of offsets it because our duration is only 2 seconds. I think that's quite interesting. When you come into the slide, it has that little zoom in effect. I think that is very, very interesting as well. So let's just turn that off just so the whole thing isn't full of animations. And then there's also page transitions, which rely on a duplicate slide, but they're absolutely amazing. So as a little demonstration, now I know we could use just the fly in. We could use the fly in tool or the single animation. But what you can do is you can actually set this page to transition in as morph, and then it knows to bring that in from the previous slide. It's so clever. And then you can use that transition to change a ton of things. So you could even bring that over like that. And then see the way the gradient moves over as well. So although you could do individual animations, I find that the morph transition between slides is, well, it's key, really. You could even go one further, and you've got to be careful with. Actually, so what I would do is delete this slide. Let me cut that. You've got to think about your end game first. So let's just say something like that. Duplicate that slide, and it's the one prior that might want to slide out like that. That might want to just come from the bottom like so. And then as long as this has got the morph setting to it, you can then do things like that. It's absolutely fantastic. Another one, before we finish this section, is there's a little opportunity. Let me just... turn that down like so. You can add artistic effects as well. And there's one for blur, which I think is quite nice when you want the text to really stand out. And if you've got a piece of text that has some bullet points, we often use bullet points like so here. When we're summarizing the benefits of a project or something like that to planners or a client or something. Right. If you bullet that and select, you can then right click and convert to smart art, and then you can create these lovely little diagrams as well. So if we just go for a simple looking thing like this, let's have no fill, no line. Change the text to suit. You could drag it out like that, snap it to the center. Let's draw some lines. Where's our colour? Hold Control and drag across, and again the snaps are your friend. This is then the result. Hang on, that doesn't quite look right, does it? Let's just drag that down a little bit. So I think that's just a nice way of showing some of the key points, and again converting bullet lists which might exist in other documentation into something like that. I would then suggest you duplicate the slide, delete the text, and let's reset the appearance of that, and then turn the transition again into morph. Look at that. Let's go from here. then look at the way that blurs into that. Now you can't tell me that that's cheesy. So that's the second kind of case study for PowerPoint over InDesign. And then the last one is, I am saving the best till last. So this last tip is absolutely mind-blowing. I love it. Let's insert a new slide. Again, the whole theme is this black background. And in our planning reports, we often have something where we demonstrate the urban scale and the human scale of a project. And what would be nice is if we could transition from that view into that view to just sort of show how it can move from this urban aerial to this sort of street scene. Now you're going to have to bear with me a little bit because this is fairly new to me, so I haven't quite got the hang of getting it down to a perfect eye level. But let me just demonstrate how you can bring your SketchUp models into PowerPoint. This is amazing. So first things first, what we want to do is, I personally like SketchUp models. When I'm trying to present just the model itself, I like to keep to just block colours, but you can use textures in this instance. And what we want to do is we want to export it to an OBJ file. And you need to select triangulate all faces. That just eliminates bugs from the model. I've tried it without and it comes in all over the place. Export textures and swap the YZ. No idea why you need that, but you do it. It comes in all over the place. So those three things ticked and the units are set to millimeters. Let's export that. And then while we're waiting, we want to transition between urban scale and human scale. So let me just grab this. And let's do urban scale. Let's make the text massive so we can just show something off. I keep saying it's amazing, but it is. Right. Copy. Text box. Let me know in the comments if you know how to sort that stupid bottom line, although it doesn't seem to be doing it now. Let's just do something like that. Right. That's exported. And then what we want to do is we want to insert 3D model from file, and then there's your OBJ. And look at that. Now we're talking. So you could do something like that, and then this slide is, you know, say it's urban scale. But what's really nice is, you know, the features of send to back, bring to front, they apply to 3D models. So I appreciate that maybe the body text shouldn't be cut off, but it's quite a nice effect, isn't it? The model is just sat over the title text because you know what it's saying. I also like that it comes in lit. It's a little bit pre-lit. I wonder whether, you know, so we can play with camera, model rotation. There's some preset views as well. That's quite nice. Not that view particularly, I just mean the feature. But then look at that. How good is that? So what we then want to do is we want to combine that with what we've learned previous. So we could add blur effects and all, you know, these lovely lists and all that sort of stuff. But just to keep it simple. I'm going to duplicate the slide. And then I'm going to position the 3D model here. I'm going to attempt a little like street view, something like that. Go easy on me with that view. It's not the best, I know. But then let's, maybe not that big. Let's give it a bit of something. Maybe just something like that. I'm not being too precise here. Yeah, maybe something like that. You just bring it down. I just want the text to be overlapped. The reason I'm just being a little fussy is I just want the text to be overlapped by the building, just to demonstrate that idea of, you know, the bring to front, bring to back, that is traditionally just used for shapes and stuff in the likes of PowerPoint and that. So that'll do, right? It's not perfect, but you get the idea. And then on the second slide, if you do the transition as morph, look at that. How nice is that? So if we go on there, so you could be presenting to a client, the planners, something like that, and that just adds so much visual interest, doesn't it? And that I actually haven't updated the text there. Let me just, on the second one. Just something like that. See, so that's good. So it was remembering that text box was on the next slide. So that's why it was moving it. And it was a little cheesy. Whereas now, just that little fade effect. Urban scale, human scale. Now you could obviously bring in a larger SketchUp model, but I've just kept it simple with just the building model, just for ease of demonstration. But how good is that? There are so many options. Let's duplicate again and maybe do like a plan view ish, something like that. And that could be roof garden. And then in here it's, you know, some text about the roof garden. Or we could jump back, apologies, let's put the model back to the right hand side. And then just make sure that this has got the morph transition as well. And then look at that. So then between these three, you've then got that, and then that. That is absolutely superb. And to the best of my knowledge, InDesign can't do that. As much as I love InDesign, well, I'll never not use it. But what a bit of, you know, a bit of food for thought for using poor old PowerPoint. Us designers are told that it's a clumsy and cheesy piece of kit, and actually I think it's quite the opposite. It's incredibly powerful. And one last thing on the 3D model side of things is that there are stock models that you can bring in as well. Emojis is quite a funny one. I believe there's a nice sun model. Look at that. And you can, let's just have a little bit of fun with it. Imagine we were doing a sun path or something. So you could copy that. Paste that over here. And you could even show different sun positions. That'd be a nice way of doing things, wouldn't it? So yeah, have a look at the stock library as well. And yeah, that's it really. Just thought I'd bring that to your attention. I think it's an incredibly powerful tool. As I've mentioned, we've started reusing it for initial planning discussions and new project pitches, and it's been working an absolute treat. So thank you for watching. If you want to learn more about ArchAdemia, please head over to archademia.com. We have what we believe is the largest architecture-specific course library available now, and we have a huge library of downloadable resources as well. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.